Truworths is next. Cape Town based. The brands, of course, people will be familiar with. Truworths Man, Young Designers Emporium, or YDE, Identity, which is quite similar to Mr. Price, Daniel Hechter, etc., etc. And then most recently, in the last sort of 18 months or so, it ventured outside of South Africa into the UK as well, with the acquisition of a group or a company called the Office Group, which is more sort of upscale office type or professional wear, particularly in the UK. Market capitalization 30.2 billion rand, price earnings ratio 10.25. This is going to be even more inexpensive, you might argue. Dividend yield 6.6%. Summarize, Michael Mark, this is a very established group with a good credit management history, and yet
yeah, well, it's because of that credit angle that the stock has been sold off.
Just
in
explain
excess of
that,
the rest.
because you said something earlier about the new affordability regulations for the viewers. Just underscore that.
So these affordability regulations were introduced in September 2015, and basically what it does is you have to jump through a few extra hoops before you can get a store card. So you have to have a solid job. You have to have a certain level of
3
income.
months worth of bank statements, and it just makes it harder to give credit. So where the retailers argue rather give somebody a small amount, see if they pay, then give them some more. The rules now say no, you've got to do a lot of paperwork beforehand.
And the thing is, we haven't really seen an improvement in trade debtors at all.
That's the point they keep making. It doesn't actually help.
But then again, the lack of improvement could be due to macroeconomic factors and the consumer being under pressure. So it's very difficult to say right now. But it does seem to be having a big impact. And these credit retailers, in particular, Foschini and Truworths, have been penalised for that.
They've been spitting mad, you can tell. Okay, but as far as the group's concerned, again, it's motoring along. What about the Office Group? How does that seem to you?
So Office is pretty interesting. It almost looks, they basically only sell shoes. And
shoes.
Only shoes. And it is something in between an Aldo and Zoom. So somewhere in between that. It's not too highly priced, but it looks expensive relative to South African prices. But if you look at it from a UK consumer perspective, it's affordable, good shoes.
The timing of that purchase, though, wasn't great in the sense that then there was all this kind of rand-pound falling around, but it was bought at a time when the rand was particularly weak, and now, of course, the rand has strengthened to the pound because of Brexit and other issues.
Yes, and I mean, these South African retailers were really, I think they were forced into a corner to make acquisitions in developed markets because of rand weakness and to try and diversify their earning streams away from South Africa. So it was a good strategic decision. The timing was just a little bit out, and it was the exact same thing for Foschini and for Brait for that matter.
Yeah, let's have a look at the share chart. So over 5 years, this one doesn't look as good, and the slump in recent times has been quite acute. But I guess it's the combination of trading updates that haven't looked quite what you'd want, etc. So hot or not?
Well, their last trading update was also pretty weak. This is, to me, this is a very, very cheap stock or cheap-looking stock, but it would probably have to be a wait and see from me. I would want to see some improvement in those credit sales trends. So for now, it would be a not.
And the foreign competition is also an issue here, and that's got an uncertain impact. We don't really know.
As soon as those guys start increasing their prices to break even in this country, they're competing with Truworths and Foschini, and they're no longer competing with Mr. Price.
Okay.
That's
an interesting aside. So you're saying then they become more in the same space from a price and comparable offering point of view, which is a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I mean,
potentially a negative.
Well, if you look at quality relative to price, it's not necessarily a bad thing because the South African retailers do offer higher quality goods. You won't believe that, but it is absolutely the truth. But the perception is always going to be that you're going to get it cheaper at Zara or H&M.
So it sounds like we're going to go with not hot on that one for the moment.
For the moment.
Yes.